Panning is one of the most easiest concepts to understand in music production, but is it really that easy if you think about it? If you pan the things to the left, are they actually just going to the left, or is there something else that's happening behind the scenes? Does it change the volume? Does it change the information in a stereo track? There's a lot of things that you need to think about before you actually select an option in panning. Do you know there are different settings to pan as well, and that can determine whether your track is going to sound good or not? If this is all new to you, then don't worry, I'm here to teach you all these things about panning. But before we get into the video, I'm Florana Jain, otherwise known as Flow of Music, and I put out a lot of music production related videos. So if that's something that you like, then don't forget to subscribe. So let's get into the video. I have the stereo track with me and I have two informations. I've got guitars and drums. Actually, guitars are on the left side and drums are on the right side. I'm just going to play it quickly. So you heard that, right? You're hearing guitars and drums. I'm going to open the inspector window with the letter I, and this is my channel strip. When you right click on that pan knob, you see these different panning options. By default, when you open a stereo track in Logic, you will automatically be in the balance mode in a pan setting. Now let's talk about balance first. Balance means when you actually pan a track to the left side, it is going to remove all the information that you have on the right side. It's like you're muting the track, or you're like reducing the volume fader on the right track as you proceed to move it to the left side. Let me show you this. As I move this to the left, you're going to notice that on the right side, which is the drums in this track, is going to reduce in volume. Definitely the drum volume is reduced, right? Now let's see what happens when you hard pan it to the left. Do you hear any drums? Absolutely nothing, right? And if you look at this fader, you'll notice that only the left side fader is coming up. There's nothing on the right side. Let's move it to the right channel and we'll see how that's happening. So you notice that when you pan a stereo information, and the reason why it's stereo is basically maybe because there are two different informations on the left channel and the right channel, and that's the reason why this is a stereo recording. It could be any kind of reason. But when you pan a stereo information track to the left side using a balance setting, you're totally stopping the information out of the other channel. It's like you're totally muting it. And let's check about the volume also. So now when it's in the center, we're getting roughly around -5. I'm going to pan it to the right side all the way. We'll see the volume level right now. Once again, it's around -5 only. I'm going to move it this side as well. Showing me -8 basically because the guitar volume was recorded in a really low volume level or whatever, but it's still, not going higher than the volume level that it was showing, which is -5 basically. So this is the takeaway from the balance setting. Number one, if you record any stereo track, maybe because you wanted like a stereo recording on a guitar, or maybe you used it for piano or for percussion or whatever it might be, if you do a stereo recording, when you use the balance mode and you pan it to one of the sides, you're going to lose the information on the other side completely. If you're not hard panning it, then you're going to lose it partially or whatever. It's like bringing the volume down. And second, when you pan, you're not bringing the overall volume of the track up at all. Maximum volume that you heard when it was in the center, that's just going to remain the same. So what are the drawbacks of this setting? When you think about the first point that I spoke earlier, why do you want to record a stereo track only to later pan it and reduce the information on one channel? That's not why you record a stereo track, right? You need two informations from that particular source, and that's the reason why you record it stereo. So when you record stereo, you need both the information even if you pan it. In a way, it has to come up. It shouldn't like completely go out. So not ideal for stereo recordings, but maybe for loops or for mono recordings, yes, it'll sound good, not for stereo recordings. So let's move on to the next setting in panning and we'll see how that sounds like. You can just right click and you can select stereo pan. The way the pan knob looks right now, that itself is different. Let's see how it sounds when it's in the center. Sounds similar to balance. Now I'm going to start moving it to the left side and let's see how that affects the sound. Now that's interesting. When you move it to the left side, I am able to dominate the guitar sound since that's in my left channel, but that never cut the drum sound as well. That I can still hear the drums also. And that just tells me a lot about this setting. It's not eliminating the other channel. It's just summing it up with this channel that I've panned. So if I pan it to the left side, the guitar which is already on the left channel, along with the drums is getting summed up. You're not losing any of the stereo signal that you recorded. Moreover, have a look at this number. It doesn't show you -5. It's showing you a higher number. It shows -4. Let's move it to the other side and let's see what's happening. Okay, when I pan it to the right side as well, I'm still hearing the drums being, clear and crisp, but I never lost the guitar signal as well. The guitar is also quite, clearly heard. And if you see the volume on the right side, that has also increased in its level. I'm going to hard pan it and we'll see how that affects the volume. Interesting. So when I hard pan it to the left side, the levels jumped, but I never got rid of the drum volume. The drum volume is also coming in along with the guitar. And the same is happening on the right side. Now let's talk about, the summary that we're getting out of this second setting. Number one, on a stereo track, when you put it on stereo pan setting and you move it on either side, you're actually not losing the other signal. When I pan it to the left, I'm not losing the other information, the other channel's information. Rather, it's just getting summed up. And also, with respect to volume, the volume is actually increasing. In the earlier setting, the volume never increased. It just, maximum, whatever level it showed you in the center pan, that's the highest level that it can go when you pan it on either side as well. But here it is just boosting up the volume because both the channels are getting summed up. That's basically what's happening. What are the takeaways from this? So when you actually record a stereo information, it's best to not, lose any of this information and retain it. So if you want to pan a stereo track, it's best to retain both those informations, which can be done only in a stereo pan setting and not in a balance setting. So if I'm going to record guitars, I'll definitely be using stereo pan and not the balance mode. In fact, any stereo recording that I do, I'd prefer using the stereo pan setting rather than the balance mode. This is an example just to show you when you have different pan settings, how it's going to affect the left, information, right information. You will never have a stereo track where it's like just guitar on one side and drums on one side. Or maybe you could. That's up to you. But this is the overall idea about balance and stereo pan. If you have a mono track, that really doesn't matter. You can just select the normal setting and you can move it left and right. But if you have a stereo information track, it's better you put it on a stereo pan setting, and that's going to improve your music because you're not going to lose any information. Balance mode is just going to bring down the volume on one channel. It's just going to mute the other channel. And also, volume is not going to rise. So you should consider the volume perspective as well. If your mix volume increases after you've panned, and that's just because you've selected the stereo pan because it's summing it up and the volume is going to increase. Yes. So you may have to bring the fader down a bit or use any plugin to match the gains or whatever, anything that you're already doing is fine. But this is what I would essentially do. So you can right click and mess around with these two and just let me know what you think about these two settings. And if you found this video useful, don't forget to comment and subscribe to my channel for more useful content like this. Thank you so much for watching. Never stop learning. Keep making music, and I'll see you guys in another video.